Hello everybody, welcome to the Chensor Dynasty. My name is James Chen, aka jchensor, here on twitch.tv/jchensor. And the Chen Reaction is where I talk about all sorts of crazy topics going on in the fighting game community, and today there is a doozy of a topic. Yesterday, apparently in the span of 2 days, a fan created a patch for the Street Fighter V netcode, and it's just like a DLL that you just drop in there and replaces one of the existing DLLs, and now when you play it, you get better connections. Something that Capcom has not been able to do for 4 years or something, and they seem to have improved the experience tremendously already. And this is an interesting situation because this raises up questions all over the place. This is just like wild. It's crazy, right? And so basically what happened here is that someone created a patch that the reason why you get really bad rollback is because the two games basically kind of fall out of sync, right? There's a whole factor of rollback netcode that you have to keep the games running at the same time. If they fall out of sync, and I don't know the details about why things fall out of sync or whatever like that, then one game is always thinking it's catching up. And that's why you get the teleport. And that's why one player usually will experience the lag and the other person doesn't, which is the craziest thing. So basically, one player keeps seeing this lag while the other guy's playing just fine. A lot of times when I play Street Fighter Online and I am playing with my viewers, they're always like, yeah, it was really terrible for me. And I was like, it was fine for me. And then I'll play, I'm like, man, this lag was terrible. And they're like, yeah, it was fine for me. So it's really kind of crazy. So it's a mod. Yeah, it's technically a fan mod, but it patches the game and makes it so that it seems to work a lot better now. Now, it does cause some problems here because this is not a universal update, right? And so if you update something and you play with a bunch of people who are not updated, if you guys do not have the same kind of fix to it, then you're going to run into problems, right? So what this patch has done is that if you have the patch and somebody else has the patch, and the patch obviously only works on the PC because there's no way to patch stuff on the PS4 without like a dev kit or something like that. But if two people with the patches on their PCs play against each other, the experience is amazing for them. The experience is amazing for them, right? This is not a real patch, right? This is just a mod, a fan-made patch. So this doesn't roll out to everybody. If you play with a patched version with someone who does not have a patch, whether it's PC to PC or PC to PS4, then the other person's experience is terrible, right? You basically make it so that you're always on time and they're not on time, so they're always trying to do the catch up to you, and so they're gonna have the really awful jumpy experience playing against you. However, again, if you have people who are patched and they play against each other, then they're synced up, and so it actually feels a lot closer to offline. For example, David played a match yesterday with another person who was patched, and the netcode seemed okay. There was still a little bit jumping, and David was like, it wasn't very good. How was it for you? And the guy on the stream was like, I'm in Tunisia. And David was like, what? I just played this and it was freaking from here to like North Africa. And it was better. It was still better experience than than me and David playing against each other when we're both in Southern California. So it's pretty crazy. But here's the thing, right? What does this patch mean? What does this mean, right? Well, the number one thing that it means is that there is something simple and straightforward we can do now to improve everybody's experience. Does it fix the netcode? Probably not completely. There's probably still a lot of little things here and there that we need to figure out to make it optimal, but this is something that now we know that took someone literally 2 days to create by reverse engineering the code They didn't have access to the source code. So I don't know if you guys understand how programming works. When you create a DLL is just basically a bunch of information that a program needs to run, right? And it's all in like crazy machine coded, like it's all just in there like that. You can't just take that file, open it up with something and see all the lines of code. That's not how it works unless it's a debug version, which nobody releases, because debug information in a file adds a bunch of memory space that nobody needs, and it bloats the code, it bloats the software, basically. It starts taking up a ton of space. Yeah, exactly. So the guy Gandhi says, he said if he had the source code, he could have did it in 30 minutes. Free. But the thing is, if you can reverse engineer it enough to the point where you can figure out exactly kind of what's going on in there, which you can do, you know, that's apparently what this guy did. And so all that time it took to reverse engineer the code took a lot of work. If you had the source code, like you said, it would have been 30 minutes, easy, right? But the key factor is that there is something that's quick, dirty, and easy that improves the experience. Does it make it perfect? I would probably say no. I would doubt that it would be perfect. In fact, it might even introduce some new bugs, right? It might even, and I'm not talking about the patch to not patch version, because if this was an official patch, everybody would get it. Everybody would have a copy of it. I'm just saying that it might come with some other bugs. That's just the nature of software, right? You put something in there, you write a bunch of code, and you're like, this couldn't possibly hurt anything else. This is so straightforward and simple. And then you roll it out, and then your whole program explodes, right? This is just the nature of coding. This is the nature of coding. But there is something that is simple and works right now. So in other words, whatever reason Capcom has had to not patch the netcode is non-existent. And even if Capcom said, look, we're going to roll out something similar. You don't roll out the fan patch, by the way. You just find out what he did. And I'm sure he's perfectly willing to throw all that information out there. And, you know, if Capcom can roll something out and say, hey, look, this doesn't fix the netcode completely, but it'll improve the process, it'll improve the experience, dude, everybody would be thrilled, right? Because from all accounts and everything that I've read from everybody over here is that they're all saying that the experience has been fantastic when they play patch to patch. Like when someone's patched the other person's patch, it just feels like it's fantastic. So the long-term ramifications for this are huge. They're super important. This means that Capcom, I feel like, literally has no reason now to try to implement this officially in their product, because they have something that they know will fix the experience for 90% of the users. Will there be other users that may experience new bugs and weird, crazy, you know, fringe conditions and all these things like that? Probably. Will it take some people's experiences that were good and turn them bad for them only? Probably, but there will be a minority case, right? Will it confuse some people who are used to the old way and now it doesn't work that way? Maybe. There are definitely some issues that can come from this, right? We're not going to sit here and say that this is a magic bullet that's going to fix all of the problems for the netcode, because that's not how software works. But it's going to improve the experience for the majority of the players based off of what I've seen from a lot of the people. No, I don't know. Nalib, understand. I'm not saying 90% of the players are PC. I'm saying if they roll this out on all of the platforms, on PC and on PlayStation 4, because whatever they fix on one of them, they can port that fix to the other one. If Capcom makes an official fix, then it goes out to everybody, and we don't have that patch to not patch problem, right? That's the whole situation right there. So Liquid Snake asks, is Street Fighter V netcode that bad compared to other games? It's a worse experience. If you have good connections, it's good. If you have bad connections, it's the worst thing ever, right? All the other games have delayed base netcode, and so it doesn't feel good unless you are Fight for Animals, Fighting is Magic, Killer Instinct or Skullgirls or Mortal Kombat 11, which do use properly written rollback netcode, then the experience is good, right? You just have to have properly implemented rollback netcode. The double-edged sword of rollback netcode is that when it's good, it's great, you know, you've got the wind at your back, your lowest lane, you know, I don't know, whatever. But when it's bad, it's awful, right? It's like, it's the worst thing ever. So that's the thing, right? Yeah, see, that's the thing, is if they patched it to everybody, everybody would have this shared experience right now. Everybody would have this shared experience. And the problem with it right now is, the situation right now is everybody who has it patched, when they're playing against somebody else who doesn't have it patched, they are ruining their experience. And the rollback netcode is going to seem even worse for them. But if we can get to the point where now we've already proven that this does work to a degree, and it will improve the majority of players' experiences. Like I said, there will be the fringe cases where it will get worse, and it's going to suck for them. And maybe they can spend some time fixing and working on that as well. But if you can improve 90% of the player's experience and ruin maybe 5% of the player's experiences, I mean, we have the trolley problem here, right? This is the trolley problem. Like, how do you do this? Like, I mean, I'd say go for it, because honestly, right now, one of the biggest knocks against Street Fighter V, especially in its current condition, right? Because when a game first came out, if you didn't play Street Fighter V because you said you hated the input lag, or you hated the lack of variety, or the characters were boring, or whatever like that, that was all kind of legit. But nowadays, Street Fighter V is in a position where it's actually really matured. It's very fun right now, and the characters have a lot of variety. Characters are really interesting. I've started playing Lucia because Lucia is just an amazing character to play. It's super fun. And so basically, if you could fix the netcode so that I could play this thing, that everybody else can play this thing, and not just basically, you know, cry from the netcode, that would be amazing. So Cammy is good, Eli Hendricks. Don't say she's trash, dude. Don't say she's trash. She's just boring. She's good, but she's boring. Game development doesn't require time and money, but also talent. It's possible they just suck, but it's not as easy as people think. Well, don't forget that one person implemented the entire netcode, right? You can't blame the dev for having these problems here, right? If one, the dev is by themselves, they've got like 7 bazillion things that are bombing them. You know, if you went to his bug report list and you look at that thing and he has to handle the whole thing by himself, you can't blame a dev for missing this kind of thing. If you don't have the proper QA simulation environment to be able to test all sorts of netcode issues, you can't blame the developer for that, right? All of this comes down to budget, right? So that's just the thing. So because they wanted crossplay between 2 platforms that don't allow crossplay, because Sony never allowed crossplay from their servers, they had to create their own server. So basically, you're asking one person to write this whole back-end network thing to set up. Whereas if a game was just on PS4 to PS4 and there was no crossplay, you would just be using Sony's servers, and Sony would be doing all the tests, and they've already done all the tests, and it doesn't matter, right? You don't have to write your own infrastructure for the entire net play, right? Because it already exists, and you have all these Sony experts and QA testing their entire Sony PlayStation network. You have all these Microsoft engineers testing their entire network, etc., right? But for Street Fighter V, you got to create your own, and it's all this other stuff like that. So one person worked on it. And if he didn't have the proper testing environment and he couldn't reproduce things and such, it's such a painful process, right? You can't really blame the devs. You really just blame the higher ups for hiring only one person and potentially not having the proper environments and, you know, not shifting enough money into QA. I don't know. There's all sorts of things that went into it that caused this kind of situation. But here we are in a situation where somebody has reverse engineered a DLL and figured out a fix, and put it out. And now here's this fix. And it improves the majority of the people's experience. I think at this point in time, if Capcom doesn't respond with, all right, we're going to look into what he did and see if we can do something similar on our end with the official, with an official patch. We can't guarantee, like, if they just, and here's the hard part, right? Because this might be, modern businesses, old school businesses, right? This is before social media, after social media. Things have changed. Japan is very old school minded. And if you're in Japan and you're a company and you say, hey, we're going to release this, it might not fix everything. It might make things worse for some people, but this will improve most people's experience. We hope. We'll keep an eye on it, blah, blah, blah. It's a very mea culpa kind of response. And in Japan, that's very shameful, probably. And it probably has a lot of bad implications. A lot of old companies that aren't familiar with, social media interaction might not see it as the kind of open communication to customers that a lot of modern companies have right now. I could explain Chun-Li's face in MVCI if you really wanted me to. But that's the other thing, Meta Skipper. If they're going to have online qualifiers, they got to do this. Otherwise, the online qualifiers are just going to be the most fraudulent result ever. If they can fix... I just went to a round 1 arcade and I tried to play Street Fighter V over there, and it connected to another round 1 arcade and we couldn't play. It just sat there on the versus screen and I basically had to wait 5 minutes for it to time out so that I could play again. It was miserable. We definitely need to get this fixed. This is something that has to happen now, right? And so one of the issues that someone brought up early on is with this patch right now, it's very frustrating because it ruins some players' experiences, etc., right? Well, if you care enough to download and install this patch, right? And if you're watching this, or if you've somehow gotten a clip of this somewhere, it means you care enough about your experience with the game, and you also care enough about other people's experience with the game, right? So, if you do download this patch, make sure that you have lobbies and only play with other people that you have this patch, okay? If you plan to just go play online ranked, turn off the patch, right? If you are playing on PS4, set yourself to PS4 only. Do not fight PC players. If you're on PC, set it to PC only or something like that. Or like I said, just play it without the patch. Now, here's the question is, how do you do that, right? People who aren't savvy enough to do it. So basically, from what I've heard, the way that this mod works, I'm not going to call it a patch, I'm going to call it a mod. The way this mod works is you just replace a DLL. You take one DLL file, you drop it in there, and you place it, right? Apparently the patch comes with the original DLL too, so that if you delete the original DLL, you always have it off to the side. All you have to do is turn off the game, drop the original DLL in there, and then start it up again, and now you're playing it without the mod. Okay, you want the mod back again? Drop the modded DLL in there, right? You can also do something like, for example, take the DLL file name, .dll, rename it to .dll_orig, like ORIG for original, or old to represent that it's the old one, and then copy the new one in there, and then whenever you want to switch the DLL, you rename the mod one to .dll_new or _mod, and then rename the old back to just the DLL. And then that's it. All you have to do is just keep swapping the files. That's as easy as it is to turn it on and off. Easy as it is to turn on and off. Some people in the chat are even saying PC versus unpatched PC works all right. Still, I wouldn't... I don't think it's fair to a lot of the people out there who don't have the patch version, right? If you're watching this and you don't have the patch version, I totally recommend grabbing the patch version so that you can play other people with the patch in a fun way. And, if you guys want to set up lobbies with only other patched players, you can use the Chensor Dynasty Discord, the Chensor Dynasty Discord, where people gather and talk about fighting games in a friendly fashion. It is a moderated community, a very moderated community where I've given mods carte blanche to ban toxic people based off of their own judgment. If you see anyone that's being toxic, you can report them to my mods, and my mods will take care of them, etc., etc. But, you know, that is a place that you can set up some matches between patch players and stuff like that. So, where can you read about this said mod? It's on Reddit right now, Magic Orbs. It's on Reddit. Now, this is a big caveat, right? This is a huge caveat, and something that I'm glad Magic Orbs kind of brought this up. This is a fan-made mod, okay? He's only showing us what he did. He could be adding extra things to it. He could be, but I think other people will probably have the due diligence to be able to double check. But, you know, it is a fan-created thing, right? It's basically you're using a file downloaded from the internet. You have no idea what it's going to do. You're going on faith that this guy isn't going to do something crazy to your machine or anything like that. So, but it is on GitHub, and it's all there, and I do believe the source code is all there and everything like that. So we'll see. So far, I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen anything crazy from this file yet. So, yeah, there you go. Fat Guy put a link in the chat right there. Oh, is it the same guy who made the hitbox display for stuff like Dragon Ball Fighters and stuff like that? So in other words, he's just somebody who's been in the fighting game community. He made the Guilty Gear hitbox mods too. Okay, so the guy has a good reputation. He is a trustworthy guy who has done stuff in the past. So I think that makes it a lot more trustable. That makes it a lot more able to be trusted. So that's actually really, really cool. And see, there's no way that you would turn this patch off for anyone. I mean, you're griefing. You're basically trying to ruin the experience for other people. You do you. But my recommendation is that you don't do that. And that's why if you're on PS4, you just match up to only other PS4 players for now. Because if you match up to PC and the mod spreads, you're going to have a lot of terrible experiences. But, like I said, as a result of this actually existing, I think this kind of forces Capcom's hand to do something. I really do think Capcom needs to look very carefully into this and figure out a way to implement a similar fix. Even if it takes contacting the guy and saying, what exactly did you do, right? What exactly did you do? And the funniest thing about it is, you know, I kept thinking to myself, there's no way this kind of netcode fix could be that difficult, especially when guys like Mike Z and like Keats kind of already knew what the problem was. And Keats has been laughing about it all day, that it took this guy 2 days, even with reverse engineering code, to actually fix this. So, but because this exists out there, I think this kind of forces Capcom's hand. So the long-term ramifications is I really do hope that Capcom does set something out like this. But at the same time, you know, as I was trying to mention earlier, I really hope that they kind of understand that in the modern era, the modern social media era where people are talking to each other and communication is going rampant back and forth between companies and people and companies, right? Like 10 years ago, this was unheard of, that we didn't even know if the companies knew that the FGC existed, right? Like we're sitting here on AGSF2 typing away about a bunch of stuff, and like, did we even know that the companies were even listening to us at all? Like we believe that they didn't even hear us, right? Nowadays, everything is different. So if they can come out with a patch and just say, hey, look, we've reproduced what this person did to the best of our abilities. We're hoping that it does fix everybody's experience. And it's not going to be something quick. They're not going to do something tomorrow because they need to do QA on it. They definitely need to do QA on it too, to make sure. But if they can release something and then also release a statement and just say, look, we've implemented this fix. From what we can tell, it fixes the majority of players' issues. Some people may experience degraded performance, Please let us know if you do, and we will look into it and see if we can help that kind of situation. But this should improve the majority of players' experience. We hope you understand. Please enjoy, kind of thing like that. This kind of candidness, this kind of open communication, and a lot of people are more understanding about that kind of stuff these days. You'll see it a lot when those game companies are like, man, we're not getting this game out to you as soon as we thought. We want to make sure the quality is good, so it's going to be another 3 months. And most of the time you see people going, take your time, man, take your time, fix it, make it good, make the game good. There you go. There is a chance, Hypergrav, that they do nothing. And if that's the case, then there's no reason for the community not to riot at that point in time. Honestly, so here's the first thing, right? First of all, don't go at Capcom right now. Don't yell at Capcom. Don't be like, Capcom, you guys suck. Look, this guy fixed this, and blah, everybody, you guys suck. Right? There's... that you're not going to get anything accomplished with that, right? So right now you'd be like, hey, Capcom, there's this thing here. Would you consider looking at it? Can you please take a look at it? This might make everybody's experience great, a lot more fun. I can't wait to play more games of this online. This will be amazing, blah, 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 blah. If they come out and say they're not doing everything, okay, go for it. Go in there and start yelling at them. Start yelling at them at that point in time, because there's no more excuse at that point, right? But with this, and that's why I think the long-term ramifications of this is I really do think it forces their hand to do something. I really, really do. So I think that's very, very important that they actually need to fix this. They have to fix this. But for the people who are using it right now, who are just using the patch and having fun with it right now, enjoy it with responsibility. Like I said, I am empathetic towards everybody else who has a terrible experience. Use the patch only when you're playing other people that you know are patched. Set yourself to PC only if you are going to play on the patch version. You don't want to bother taking it out. Or if you are empathetic enough and you are playing regular ranked on PC, turn off the patch, turn off the mod, I should say. So that way you're not ruining everybody else's experience, right? So that's how I feel about it, but we'll see what happens with that. So Blue Shirt Hero made this patch. I know that's a reference to some meme, and I can't remember who that is. So I mean, they may ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist, but there's no way. There's no way that Capcom can pretend it doesn't exist. There's no way that they don't know something out there that exists. Oh, the guy who spoke at the Azusa meeting. That's right. Oh, man. Yeah, but that's my take on the whole entire situation. This thing is, it's great to see. It's obviously not going to be perfect, right? Because this is something that someone had to make while reverse engineering a DLL and trying to do it the best of his abilities, right? It's not going to be 100% magic bullet. It's not going to fix everybody's experiences. You're still going to have lag if you can't fix distance and internet connections, right? If you have a shitty internet connection, you're not going to have a better situation playing other people. Is it going to be a better situation than before? Probably. Is it going to be the best experience? No, right? That's impossible. It's not the magic bullet. But if it improves the majority of people's enjoyment and their connectivity, which most people have reported that it is working like a wonderful, wonderful, amazing thing, then absolutely, absolutely, we need to get this implemented right away. And I think by having it released, it does kind of force Capcom into having to react to this. And I think that's cool. I think that's very important. I really, really hope that this brings about some positive change coming up very soon. So if they do decide to implement it, definitely expect Ono to tweet about it at some point in time. If they don't expect to fix it, you definitely expect somebody else to tweet about it. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break when we come back, we're going to do a Q&A session where people can continue talking to me about this topic. I haven't looked at the chat much during this Chen reaction section, but during the next section is all Q&A where I just interact with the chat and we talk about this netcode stuff and everything like that. If you're watching this on YouTube, look for the video for the Q&A stuff. Also uploaded to this channel as well. But if you're here on Twitch, don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this break. And thank you again for watching the Chensor Dynasty, the Chen reaction here on twitch.tv/jchensor. If you do like this content, please like, subscribe, donate, bits, all that stuff. I've got a Patreon and everything, even though I haven't been doing anything with the Patreon, but I'm going to try to fix that hopefully soon. So I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back.